Do you feel like finding the one is like searching for a needle in a haystack? Plus, if you identify as LGBTQ, we can feel like the chances are even smaller for finding the one. Are you one of those people who keeps finding people to date, then a few weeks or months later, you're figuring out how to cut it off with them because it just doesn't feel right? Well, I was that person about 6 years ago until I figured out some tips that I'm going to share with you. And I'm going to read you something from my personal journal and tell you how I found the one. My name is Katie. I've been a licensed therapist for 20 years now. Please do me a favor and hit subscribe. And if you leave a comment, I promise to respond. As a therapist, I meet with clients all the time who are unhappy in their relationships, and it astounds me that people stay in such unhealthy relationships with people who are obviously not a good fit for them. And I'm not talking about the usual issues that all couples face around household chores and parenting issues. I'm talking about major core value differences where maybe one person is begrudgingly financially supporting the other and one is out partying all night while the other's texting them constantly wondering if they're okay. So in this video, I'm going to tell you 3 things that will help you to find the one who's just right for you. Now, the first tip is knowing your non-negotiables. So when I have a client tell me they're starting to date, I'll ask them, do you know what you're looking for? And initially I get very vague statements like, yeah, just somebody who treats me well and somebody who's honest and who wants to hike with me. And while all those things are good, it's not enough to find the one. And I ask this question because I've seen many people who have such low expectations and end up falling for the first person who's cute and shows them any attention. But they end up missing major character traits that the person really does want. So a lot of people are settling for just anybody in order to have somebody instead of being clear about exactly what they want. Now, non-negotiables are your must-haves. They're bottom line expectations. And I tell my clients that before they start dating, write down a list of 5 to 7 non-negotiables, then bring that list to me so we can talk about it. And these are the attributes, values, or behaviors that you cannot compromise on for your relationship to thrive. And establishing these ensures you're clear about what's essential for you in a partner. And if you aren't clear with yourself about what type of person you're looking for, you're going to fall for anybody. Some of the common non-negotiables are things like honesty, ambition, respect, but to me, those are just a given. To me, those things are what anybody wants, I think. So I ask my clients to be more detailed so you can get what you really want. And these can be things like, I want them to be financially stable. I want somebody who shows affection. I want them to be a vegan or not a vegan. Or they can be issues around spirituality, marriage, polyamory, yes or no to kids, smoking or non-smoking. Just ask yourself, what are the things that I must have in a partner that I'm not willing to compromise on? And it's okay for you to look for exactly what you want. This will make it much easier to filter out the people who are not for you. Now, here's the catch. You're not going to get every single little thing that you want in a partner, but you can at least make sure they meet your non-negotiables. For instance, my wife does meet all of my non-negotiables, but she's far from perfect, and I'm not perfect either, but I found all the main traits that I want in a partner. And this exercise that I tell my clients to do, I did it for myself. And here's what I wrote in my journal, and I ended up finding the perfect person for me. I wrote, number 1, somebody who easily gives affection. Number 2, someone financially stable. And this is because I have kids and I can't afford to support another person. Number 3, someone who has an active spiritual practice. Number 4, somebody who lives within 45 minutes of me. Number 5, someone who will want to commit long term. And number 6, somebody who can be active and enjoys being outdoors. But here's some other examples. If you're adamant that you never really want to get married and marriage is not something you believe in, then make sure you find out ASAP whether the person you're going to be going out with wants marriage or not. You don't want to get 6 months into a relationship and them start talking about wanting marriage when you don't want that. And then maybe you start to consider it and compromise on your own needs to make the relationship fit for you. You want to avoid wasting your time with somebody who isn't a good fit. I'm seeing way too many people trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. If you find yourself committing to people who don't meet your non-negotiables, that's a sign that you are desperate, which leads me to number 2, which is avoid being desperate. Now, in this frantic race to find the one, desperation can become our worst enemy. It clouds our judgment, it compels us to make impulsive decisions, and potentially leads us into relationships that are not beneficial. For example, when I started dating about 7 years ago, after my divorce, I told myself that I knew I did not need to date long distance. I knew in my gut that would be a bad choice for me. But as soon as somebody came along who was attractive, smart, and sweet, I broke my own rule and invested a year of my life into this relationship that I can see in hindsight was doomed from the beginning because of the long distance. So when feelings of loneliness and that fear of being perpetually single creep in, it's essential to remember that settling out of desperation rarely leads to happiness. I love this quote by Amy Dickinson when she says, "Being alone is almost preferable to being with the wrong person." In this quote, the greatest thing is to know how to belong to yourself. Instead of being desperate, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. So here's a tip. When you think of what your ideal person would be like, are you the type of person they would be attracted to? So if you're single, take the time to engage in activities you love, foster your personal growth, and remember that it's better to be single and content than in a relationship where you feel undervalued or unhappy. And number 3, take some time to be single between relationships. This is one that nobody wants to hear, especially those with anxious attachment style who need that external validation from others to feel whole. I get it. I feel your pain. So resist the urge to jump back into the dating pool. If you can't learn to give yourself the love you need, nobody's ever going to be able to meet your needs. Nobody is coming to save you from yourself. If you just went through a breakup, know that breaking up is really hard. It takes, on average, about 6 months to feel settled after a breakup, so expect that. Embrace the single phase after a breakup as a time of reflection, growth, and self-discovery. So go talk to your family or friends about maybe some things they saw in your relationship where maybe you had some blind spots, and learn how to not make those same mistakes again. Rushing into another relationship without the adequate healing can result in projecting past issues onto your new partner or choosing a partner for the wrong reasons. So by number 1, setting clear non-negotiables, number 2, avoiding the pitfalls of being desperate, and number 3, giving yourself time to heal and grow after a breakup, you enhance your chances of finding the person who's right for you. And remember that the journey to finding the one is as much about you finding yourself as it is about finding the other person. Please stay tuned for my next video about how to keep the one after you find them. Thanks for watching.